Okay, so since we've lost almost a full 2 weeks of class, I'm going to spend a little time just showing you some more tools that we can use in order to create some new shapes, and I'm also going to show you a little bit about some color editing tools. So first, let me just kind of a little tangent here. One of my favorite comics is a comic called Lock and Key. It was written by Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son. But in that comic, and if you ever get a chance to read it, it's awesome. In that comic, there's a whole bunch of different keys in this house that this family is living in, and each of the keys does something slightly different. Okay, like one key will turn you into a giant, one key will turn you into shadows, one key will let you leave your body, one key will let you see the past, and so there's all these different keys that will allow you to perform. One will let you take things out of your head, so if you have a memory you want to remove, you can remove it. So there's all these keys that will allow you to do some pretty fantastical things. And so what we're going to do is we're going to draw a key. And so I'm doing this, I want to show you how to do this, but rather than have this be an exercise, which was what it would have been before we got all these snow days, this is actually just going to be a required doodle. So sometime before the end of the semester, one of your doodles needs to be your version of a key that will allow you to do whatever you want it to do. Maybe your key will allow you to make any day a snow day, or it's whatever you want it to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to create me a key, make it a really nice illustration, and then just write a little paragraph using the text tool to tell us what this key does. So let me come up with one. My key is going to allow me to fix my hair when I let my hair dry before I comb it and I can't get it to lay down right. So this key will allow me to make my hair lay down right, okay? Because that's just annoying. So let's just start with a rectangle tool. And so I'm going to do this for the base of the key, or the stalk of the key, whatever. And we're going to, I'm just using sort of a kind of a dark blue, almost gunmetal color, and I'm just going to start blocking out some of the shapes in here. Okay, so I'm also going to use an ellipse tool. Let's do that. Now, I really would like that ellipse tool to snap to the center of there, and sometimes you may already have this turned on, but if you don't, if you go to View and Smart Guides, you'll see that it allows me to snap to the center. And if I start drawing that, well, that's not really what I wanted, right? But if I hold down while I'm drawing this, hold down Shift, that's going to allow me to constrain it. Or if I hold down Alt, that's going to allow me to draw from the center out. So Alt will draw from the center out. And I'm just going to make this somewhat head-shaped. Right? So let's say maybe maybe not. Let's do something like that. Just like that color, right? And then I need some teeth for this key, so maybe something like this. So I'm going to draw one. Now, I want this, I have a single tooth here for this key, but I'd like to be able to chop a little. Actually, what I want to do, I would like to make like one long section here and say this is going to be all the teeth for the key, right? Something like that. Now, I don't want it to be one long piece. I'd like there to be little chunks that are taken out of here, different shaped chunks. I'd also like this to kind of be one piece, right? I don't really have to have it as one piece, but it'd be nice if it was, just so I could, do something like apply a single fill to the entire thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to go ahead and hold down Alt. And while I have my selection tool selected, if I hold down Alt and drag an object, it just duplicates it. So I'm just doing that to have like a little reference piece for later, okay? But I'm going to try to combine all these into one shape instead of three shapes. So there's a couple different tools that will allow us to do that. If I grab this, I'm just going to grab all the pieces that I want to combine, right? We're going to try out a new tool. We're going to try out this tool here, which is the Shape Builder tool. Okay, now if I click the Shape Builder tool, you'll see, and I had to have all of these pieces selected, but with the Shape Builder tool selected, as I drag across here, you'll see it starts highlighting sections, but you're realizing it's not highlighting the entire object. It's highlighting parts of the object, right? It's highlighting places where there are intersections between multiple objects. So we have these two pieces here, right? And if I click on one and drag to the next, you'll see it highlights both. And if I keep that clicked and drag even to the next, it will combine those when I release it. Okay, so basically it just took all of those shapes and combined it into one shape. Now, we can do the opposite of that if we want to, but I'll show you that here in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and click the Shape Builder tool again, and I'm just going to combine all this. And so now we just have this as one big piece, right? But what I want is to be able to chop little sections out of it. In fact, I'm probably not going to use that. I'm going to do a little bit of a more rigid shape here for that. Okay, so I'm just going to go plop that in there, but I want this to be kind of varied. So again, I'm just going to hold Alt and drag these. I'm just going to mix them up a little bit, maybe make one kind of thin. Alt, drag that, maybe that like this. We can just highlight them all to, Alt didn't work on that one, did it? There we go. Maybe something like that. We can just highlight this to see how they're chopping in there, right? Let's select that again. That self, Alt, get there, and then Alt again for down here on the end. Just select all that. I'm not crazy about it. I want that to go in deeper. Let's do something like that. There we go. Let's try that. So let's say this is what I want my key to look like, not hanging out here. I want to use these pieces that are in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract these pieces out of our original piece. And so if I select the entire key and all of these pieces, and I go back to my Shape Builder tool, instead of clicking and dragging, you'll see if I mouse over, you'll see there's a little plus sign next to the arrow, right? But if I hold down Alt, it will change it to a minus sign. And so if I click and drag, it will chop that piece out. Right. So now I can build my key like that if I want. Okay, and so that kind of looks like an ugly comb, and so maybe we can sell it as that. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of manipulating on here just for looks. So I'm shifting those in a little bit, just kind of getting a better shape on the key. Let's go for that. Yeah, that's feeling a little bit more like my comb key. So there's a couple other tools that will do something similar. There's actually one other tool that will do something similar. And under Window, we said before that Window is used to turn on menus that we don't already have open or to turn them off. But there's a couple of them that you only have open when you need to use a specific tool. And by launching that window, you're kind of launching that tool. And one of those is the Pathfinder Tool. Okay, so I'm just going to open up the Pathfinder Tool. Now the Pathfinder Tool will do something very similar, but it has actually a lot of different options. So I'll just do this as an example. If we select both of these pieces and do the add, it's going to combine those, right? If we have, I'm undoing that. If we use both of those pieces and choose minus front, it's going to minus the one that's in front on our layers, right? We can use this, which is going to just keep the intersection, and then this, which is just going to remove the intersection, and it combined the entire piece into this very complex object. Now there's also these, these are shape modes, but these are the path modes, and this will allow us to start generating very specific paths. And so now it's combined them all into a group. Let me find my layers and show you. So it's combined them all into a group, but you'll see that there are the individual pieces that it broke up into paths, into individual paths, right? Oh, edit, redo, edit, redo. Okay, and so we can do that with, each of these are going to do something slightly different. This is going to combine them again, but the difference between this and this is very subtle, and this was kind of combining these volumes, whereas this one is still the same result, but what we're getting is it's merging multiple paths. And so if you have paths that are not enclosed, you're going to get a slightly different result. This is going to do similar to that intersection, but again, it's doing it with the path, not so much with the with the fill. And then this is actually just generating a bunch of stroked outlines. And this is, it's just kind of, the weird thing is, it's just going to kind of be messing around with it. And these are the ones that are going to be the easiest to understand. These are going to be helpful for generating different types of line art and strokes. Okay, so I'll show you another use for this in just a couple minutes, but first let's talk about a couple of other tools. So sometimes you need to generate some more random shapes. Like this was easy to chop out some stuff, right? But if I wanted to generate some stuff, let's kind of look at what I'm talking about here. If I click on the width tool, which allows us to change the width of our path, right? We also have these like wrap tools, the Twirl Tool, Pucker Tool, Bloat, Scallop, Crystallize, and Wrinkle, right? I'm sorry, not wrap, warp. And so by clicking the warp tool, it'll allow us to kind of generate some other shapes out of this. It basically just allows us to manipulate the current shape, right? And so if that's what we needed to do, we could do that. And it felt a little clumsy at first doing that, but we could always, we'll get the practice to be able to do that. And once we get that, we can always go in here and smooth this if we want to get a better result, right? Let's look at what some of these other tools do. We have a Twirl Tool, which basically if we click is going to start twirling our object. That's actually kind of a neat result there for our key, isn't it? Let's maybe do something like that. That's probably not possible. That's probably not likely. That's kind of neat. I wonder if we could do it here. No. So I'm just trying some different things here. I kind of like that. I kind of like what we're getting there. And maybe I would use the warp tool to kind of pull that back out and then smooth it to get a little bit of a better transition there and there, right? Maybe even there. Now let's say that what I really wanted it though is I wanted it to look like it had some spiky hair, right? Some of the other things we have down here really work well for that. For example, this Crystallize will allow us to do some crazy stuff like that, and so will the Wrinkle Tool. Wrinkle Tool will give us a little bit of this like spiky hair look as well, right? And so we could do something like that, or we could use a combination of the two. I think Scallop will also do some weird stuff. But I'm trying to make this look like it's made out of metal, so I'm going to try Crystallize, but I'm going to make my brush much bigger. Maybe I can't make my brush as big. I'm not liking what Crystallize is doing. Let's go with that Wrinkle again. I was happier with that. There you go. And so now it looks like it has some crazy spiky hair, and of course I could use the smooth brush on this if I want to clean it up just a little. Maybe make it look a little bit more possible to be machined. Something like that. Okay. And so, still not perfect. Maybe I would do a little bit of something else to this. One vert at a time, or one tangent at a time. Maybe something like that. just to get the effect that I'm going for. In fact, those are just a little high to me. There you go. So maybe something like that is what I'm going for. So there's a lot of different interesting tools down here that you can be playing around with that. And so let's say that what I really want I need a highlight down this whole thing. So let's try this and see what we get. What I'm going to do is, in this layer, I'm just going to go ahead and lock that in a minute. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a new layer, and then I'm just going to right-click. Instead of duplicating it, I'm just going to select this object here and go Edit, Copy, which is Control-C, and then Edit, Paste in Front. And what you'll see is we get a duplicate of this entire object, right? And just to keep it clean, I'm going to go ahead and drop this in my new layer and freeze my old layer. And so you see that I have basically, two of the same object right on top of each other. I'm going to make the one below invisible. Okay, so now I have two objects in this layer. I'm going to take this object, the only one that we have visible in the top layer, and hold down Alt and drag until I get a slight edge around the whole thing. That didn't work. Apparently I wasn't holding Alt enough. There we go. There we go. And so just to make this more clear, we'll make this let's save this as a swatch first in case we need it, but we'll make this front one yellow or something. So you can see what we have there, sort of a rim all the way around it, right? And so what I'm going to do is use either the shape builder or the Pathfinder tool. Let's do the Pathfinder, just because, right? And I'm just going to do this minus the front. Okay. And so now I just have all of these objects, right? Well, I'm going to set their color to, let's do a really faint yellow, right? I'm going to turn that layer underneath it back on. Okay. And so what I have now is this group of pieces here are all this faint yellow color, right? In fact, I think I can grab the whole group and play around with the color of it if I want. I can make it white, or I can make it even a lighter yellow. This isn't really the color I want to keep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with the transparency of it a little bit. I want to go to maybe, let's do overlay or something like that. Maybe. Let's set it to screen and then play with the transparency a little bit. Maybe take it down to 40. Okay. And so now we're getting kind of a neat little highlight all the way down it. We could also play with these pieces individually if we wanted to sort of make them bigger or thinner all the way around it, right? Or if we wanted to turn that into a shadow instead of a highlight, we could do that. We could make it black, set that to darken, right? Just going to darken the whole thing, and we could do the whole thing over again to generate highlights on another side, right? Or just to generate, shapes within it. But this is a nice way of being able to start getting some interesting colors in here, interesting highlights easily. Like, rather than draw that whole thing, we just chopped out the parts we didn't want with the original object, right? And again, of course, if we really wanted to go in here and manipulate that, there's nothing saying we can't do that. In fact, you probably should, just to get the shape and the form that you want. But it's getting us a lot to work with to begin with, right? So let's talk just a little bit about some color manipulation. I want to get some highlights in here too, just to have one. So I'm going to do this whole process again really quick. Again, I'm going to select this object. I'm going to say Control-C, Control-F is paste in front, and I'm just going to create yet another layer. Click another layer there, up there, and I'll just drag this path in there. Okay, so I can hide the original one, and then I can just turn this one. Let's not go that yellow again. There we go. Maybe something like that. I don't know. We're just gonna leave the color like it is for now and not worry too much about it. And so I know that I want some color on the inside, right? But there's a lot of stuff I don't want, and so I could use other objects to chop that out, right? If I wanted to use an ellipse, I could, and I could just draw like this shape. I want to make all the new shapes a different color just so we can see them. Like that. Rotate it a little. Okay, and then I'm going to do another ellipse. It's by holding Alt. Make this bigger. No, that's not really what I'm needing. I'm needing it to be the other way. And then one more ellipse, something like that. Just see what we get here. Alright, so look at all those crisscrossy shapes there. I don't need any of that stuff. But what I do want is this piece right here. So it kind of does that. And so I could use my shape builder tool and just take away everything that is not that. I'm not going to take any of that stuff away just yet. I can chop those pieces out. That piece, that piece. I'll just delete that later. And I'm just going to get rid of those two. I'm just going to put that back to tan. Oh, put that back to that tan color. And there's a piece there that I didn't really want, so just delete that. And so we'll go ahead and keep that for right now, but if I turn these back on, this may be at least a start to what I'm aiming for, which will be a nice way to manipulate that. No, I don't want that piece. Select the old one. There we go. We can start to manipulate this and get whatever shape we're needing there. Now that may not be, this may not be what I'm going for exactly. In fact, it's not. But I'm just kind of messing around now to try this out. Sort of scale this in a little. I have two there for some reason. Do something like that. Go ahead and delete that old one. Like this. I might even scale it up this way until we get that. And then I may just be able to use this as another darkened shape in there, or maybe even a screened color that's very, very light to get a highlight on it, right? That's a good idea, a screen that's highlighted. I want to keep doing this. I want to make another piece. Control C, Control F. Just going to drag that into, again, another layer. Actually, I'll just keep it in the same layer because I don't think I'll get it confused too much. No, I'm wrong. Let's do one more layer. Okay. Lock everything else, turn everything else off, and all I'm really going to do for this one is just chop some chunks out of the this section here. I'm just going to use that. Just use some rectangles to make some highlights down the base here. Use Alt. Manipulate these down really small because we could use some highlights down each of these as well. Actually, we can just generate those, can't we? Let's do like this. Maybe, and then let's try that. Grab everything, Alt. I'm just going to start chopping everything brown out of here. Okay, I can't promise that this is going to work, but let's see what it does with this piece. I'm going to set it also to screen and 10%. I think I also changed the color, didn't I? So it's doing some interesting stuff. Maybe not all of it stuff we wanted. Some of this is stuff that we could manipulate pretty easily on the sub-object level, though, if we want. So So there's a lot we could do with this. Again, I'm not 100% sure this is working completely. I may actually delete that one, and maybe that one. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that all those lines are working as clearly as I'd like, so maybe it would rework those a little bit. I'm just trying to generate some stuff kind of quickly, and in some cases it may just be easier to draw it. So once we get this, let's say we're just completely happy with what this shape looks like, but we're not completely happy with what our color scheme looks like. Right? I'm going to unlock everything, and I'm going to select it all, and then I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to do Edit Colors. Okay, so now this is a lot of different options in here, and in all honesty, they're sometimes hard to understand what they're doing. But there's the simple ones that adjust the color balance, and if we just want to overall, you have to hit preview so you can see the result. Overall, just add or take away some of the cyan and magenta from all of the things you have selected. We can do that pretty easily. We can add some black, darken it, or lighten it. And we can choose if we want this to work on both fills and strokes. Let's hit cancel on that. Now let's look at some of the other options in here under Edit. We've got Edit Colors and Recolor Artwork. Now basically what this is going to do is it's going to analyze your artwork that you had selected, and it's going to say these are the 4 colors you're using. Okay, so now that you're using those 4 colors, what would you like to replace, let's say, this blue with? Every instance of that, or this blue-green. Let's say we're just not happy with that, and we want to make that more of a lighter color. We can adjust, by clicking there, every instance of that blue in here, and make it pretty much whatever we want to, right? So let's say we really wanted it to be something more like that, right? Let's say every instance of white, we didn't actually want to be white, we wanted it to be sort of this blue, and I'm seeing a ton of examples of where that's making a huge difference. It's in this highlight here. That's its base color is white. Now the shadow's base color was this tan color, remember that? And so we can choose to make that, maybe it was actually this as base colors. Huh. I think I'm incorrect there, yeah. And so we're seeing a little bit of a change in there. Now there's also some presets that we could use to do this. I could use entirely bright colors, right? And it's going to replace these with sort of some of those. Like we could also look at analogous color schemes, all these different color schemes to get replacements for our current colors, and it's going to do its best. It's not always going to be, you know, perfect or exactly what we're looking for, and so you kind of have to play with it and get a little bit of a change. So this is kind of a complicated tool to use, but it's got a lot of neat implications, and if you decide you just don't like any of this, you can just hit cancel and go back to your original color scheme. So hopefully this makes sense, even though I spent probably a little too much time trying to make this stuff work and it didn't really do what I wanted it to do. That's alright, we could actually fix it pretty easily with stuff like this. Yeah, that's maybe working a little bit more. And so we could go through here and it at least gets us a pretty good starting point, right? Yeah, so I'm liking stuff like that a little bit more. And so it gives us a little bit of an option to get started working it in a very specific set of clean shapes, because these would be very hard shapes to draw just, you know, with a pencil tool or just manually. So this is a nice way of kind of getting you some stuff to work with and you know, moving forward. So what your exercise is not to actually do an exercise, it's actually to do a doodle, and that's because I don't know if enough of you will have access to Illustrator before you get back to ETSU or not, and so I'm not going to force you to do an exercise if you don't have the program, obviously, available to you, because you should be able to use that program here on campus. And so we're going to basically one of your doodles needs to be a key of your own, and so you just find a design for a key you like, and or make a design for a key you like, and use some of these tools to generate that. Okay, and so let me know if you have any questions, but overall this should be a pretty straightforward project that you could just kind of play with, and just gives you the option also to have another doodle. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.